Hey everybody, welcome back. I hope you had a wonderful weekend. Sorry for publishing this video a day late. I just came back from vacation. Okay, so as a reminder, we're building this dashboard app, specifically one of these cards. So we're going to replicate it and build it in our own dashboard app with Dash Plotly. So last week in part one, we left off with this. We built this percentage change over the day, and we have an empty graph and an empty button and text. And we are going to build this today. So feel free to jump into under the video. You'll have a link with all these stages of what I'm going to teach you. So feel free to jump to any stage if you that you want. But first, we're going to go over the line chart. We're going to use code to create this line chart that changes color if it goes up or down. We're going to create the labels underneath the button. It's going to change this text. It's going to change every 5 seconds according to new stock prices that we get of the Tata stock. It will change the color. So if it's a stock price has gone up, it'll be green. If it goes down, it's red. And if it's the same, it's white every 5 seconds. And then we're going to style the app so it looks cool. You see here it's a little bit to the left. This is kind of in the middle to the right. Doesn't look great. So we're going to use Bootstrap to style everything and make sure everything is aligned. And then I'm going to show you towards the end how to use the code to download API live, so you can actually have live information every 5 seconds. This is data that I'm using from last week. And for those that support me and help my mission in helping people create careers in data visualization in Python and using Dash Plotly, I'm also going to give you code to create a modal. So if you click on this, your app user will be able to put username, email, password. You'll have to connect it to a database, but at least you'll have this modal that kind of replicates what they have here when you click on this button and they have all this that comes up. So I got you started. All right, so to get started and to follow along, go into the GitHub below the video and this code that I created for you, go into finance.py. And in this code, just keep it open on your browser because we're going to copy paste from this code into the code from last week right here. Okay, so let's get started. Last week we left off, go down, this is part one. We left off down here where we built the callback for the indicator, right? We built this callback right here, which belongs to this part right here. And now we're going to build the line chart, right? We're going to build this right here. So we need the line chart callback. So going to the GitHub into this finance.py, I'm going to go into GitLab. It's the same code. And download from right here, copy from line 136 all the way to line 166. Just copy this and paste it into this code from last week. So enter, and just paste it right here. And then just save. And then you'll see if you save it, you'll see that, and you go back to the code, now you see that we have a line chart, right? That will compare from the beginning of the day to the end of the day, and will change to green if the stock price has gone up from the beginning to the end of the day. So how do we do this? What is this callback? Let's dissect this callback a little bit. So let me actually stop this and stop this so it doesn't slow my video down. Okay, so what are we doing here? Here we're taking the intervals, the number of intervals of the interval component, right? Update belongs to the interval component. Update belongs to the interval component right here. And we're taking the n intervals. So it'll be 0 the first time the graph loads, and then this will be 1 after 5 seconds, this will be 2 after 10 seconds, and so on and so on. Okay, this refers to this, remember? So we're taking this and we're saying do something with the callback function, and then what we're doing is we're creating a line chart, a figure, and then return the figure right here, right? We're returning a figure right here. And this figure is actually returning into here. So this is going to be like fig. It's the same thing. And this is the component property of daily line component ID. Where is daily line? Daily line is right here. So actually it's going to return, instead of an empty dictionary, it's going to return a figure, right? Every 5 seconds or so. Actually, exactly every 5 seconds. I put this every 500 seconds so it doesn't slow the video down, but every 5 seconds would be 5. Okay. All right. So we're doing that now. Let's see how we're building the figure. So first of all, I'm going to reverse the order of the data frame. I want it to be from end to beginning because I want it to be from left to right. If you don't reverse the order, if you delete this or you hashtag this out, this will be from right to left. It'll go from the end of the day to the beginning of the day. So you choose whatever you prefer. And now to build a line chart, we're using the DFF reverse data frame. And in the x-axis, we're going to use the date column. And in the y-axis, we're going to use the rate column, right? And if you need a refresher, just take a look. Print. Let's print the head here. And see what we get. Play. Run this. And you'll see that we get as a database where, let's make this bigger. The date is the date axis. The date is a column. The rate is a column of all the stock prices. So I'm going to say the x-axis is going to be the dates from left to right, and the y-axis is going to be the stock prices, right? We don't need to use indicator because we already filtered the data frame, so everything is high. We're using the same indicator, the high stock price, all right? And then what we're doing is I'm going to give it a range, the Y range, right? Because I don't want, you don't have to do this, but I don't want any space here on top or any space here on the bottom. I want the range to be from the least stock price, the lowest stock price, to the highest stock price. That's going to be the range of my Y. See what happens when we don't do this. Let's see what happens. And play. It's going to look a little bit different than this. Here the top is 1342 and the bottom is the minimum of whatever. Here it doesn't look good, right? Because it's only 120 height, so you have to put a range to it, so it's so it looks a lot better. So that's why I put the range. All right. We'll take the range out. And now we're putting height is 120 pixels because I just want it to be that high. I don't want it to be from here all the way down here. I just want it to be that high. And then I'm updating the layout, okay? This layout, all these parameters exist inside the Plotly documentation. Going to right here. This I'm going to add underneath the YouTube video. Going to figure reference. And into figure reference in the link under the video, go all the way here to the left, all the way down, and go to layout. Where's that layout? Go to title. Doesn't matter. All the layout is here. And then just look for the parameters. Feel free to read this over, but look at the parameters. I'm using the margin parameter. So copy this, go into documentation, Control F to find, and then we'll put margin, and then we're going to hit enter until we'll find it. Here's the margin parameter. So the margin parameter is inside fig update layout, then equals dictionary, and then inside the dictionary, you'll put either L for left, R for right, T for top, and this is the default of sets the left margin, right? So you're actually giving it how many pixels of a margin you want in each side. So here I'm saying to the left, I want 0 pixels, to the right, I want 0 pixels. Only in the bottom, I want 20 pixels. I want here some space of 20 pixels in the bottom, right? Let's see what happens if I don't put this. If I just put, the default is 80. So if I just don't do this and I put 80, let's put 420 here, the height, so you can see. Play this, run this, you'll see that because the default is 80 in each margin, it's going to look awkward, right? There's 80 here, there's 80 here, 80 on top, and then 20 on the bottom. So I don't want it to look like that. I want it to change to 0, 0, 0. and 20 on the bottom, and then the height is going to be 120 for the whole graph. And if you do that, then you end up with something like this, right? There's 20 right here and 0 on each side. Okay, the next thing is plot BG color. So we'll just copy this, and go here, go into the plot documentation, control find, go up here, and then plotly color. And you'll see that this sets the background color of the plotting area, right? By default, it's FFF, I think it's gray. So if you don't put this, if you take this out, you'll see that the plot becomes the back side of the plot becomes gray, right? And I don't want it gray because I want to replicate like this. I want it white. So that is why I changed this to 0, 0, 0, right? Same thing. Same thing with y-axis and x-axis. All right, go into the documentation and then go here to the left and go into x-axis. And then just look for the parameters. This parameter title is, you probably understand, show grid of x-axis is false. And as you can imagine, let's look for show, we want show grid. As you can imagine, show grid determines whether or not the grid lines are drawn. So here there's some grid lines on the back, on the x-axis, and on the y-axis they're like this. And if I put false right here, I'm not going to draw the grid lines. You see, if I put false here, it's not going to draw them. It's not going to see, you're not going to see anything in the background. You can look for show tick labels inside of here and see what the tick labels do, or just change this to true and you'll see the difference. Okay, so this is the updated layout. Now what we're doing, this is very similar. Actually, this is the same like we did on top of here, right? With the indicator graph, with this callback, the first callback. So what we're actually doing here, let me delete this. And let's stop this. Okay, what we're actually doing here is we're filtering the data frame, creating two different values, the value, the stock price when the day started, and the stock price when the day ended. So I'm filtering the data frame, so I only have the row where it has the minimum date, meaning the latest date when the day started. I only have that row, right? And from that row, it has 3 columns. We saw here it has an indicator column, it has date and rate. I'm only going to take the rate column and the value inside that rate column, which is that minimum value. So I'm going to do the same thing with the end of the day, that value at the end of the day, and then I'm comparing. This is exactly the same thing as I did above here in the first callback. I compare and I say if the stock price at the end of the day is bigger or equal to the stock price at the beginning of the day, let's make the line color green and let's fill it with this kind of filling right here, right underneath the line in green. If the end of the day is the stock price is lower than the beginning of the day, then the line will have the same filling and the line is going to be red, right? The line is going to be red like this. And you do this by returning fig.update traces. So why did I use update traces and not update layout, right? How do you know? Well, sometimes you won't necessarily know. You have to look and see what's best, but usually a trace is the trace of the graph, the trace of the data inside the graph. So the trace refers to the line and maybe the color underneath it, the type of the line, maybe the size of the line, the size of a scatter plot. If you have dots here or bubbles, that's the trace. Anything outside of the trace refers to the layout. The grids outside the trace, the color, the tick, X ticks, the Y ticks, the labels, maybe the legend and the color. So everything outside the traces is usually layouts. But if you want to change traces, if you want to update traces like we did here, then just go to the chart itself. Go to the plotly documentation and go to the figure reference again. And instead of clicking layout, don't click layout, go to the line chart. In this case, the line chart is a scatter plot. It's exactly the same as a scatter plot, just a different type. You're just connecting the dots. So go to the scatter, which is the line chart, and here are the traces. So let's look for example for fill. What does this mean? Now I didn't know what this is, but I looked for it. I read the documentation and I found that the fill parameter right here tells us sets the area to fill with a solid color. So I tried this out, I tried this until I found out that this one, toys, what is it? 20y, this value is the correct value to put in there. Try different, try to put this one in there, try to put this one in here and see what's the difference. See how it changes the filling of the line color. And then the line is a dictionary with the color as a value, key, and the green as a value. So very important. If you want, because I want you to be able to do this without my videos, you need to learn to read the documentation. When you update layout, go here. When you update traces, go to your chart name. In this case, it's scatter, and then look over the documentation and read the different parameters and how they affect. Test it out. Go into a different one. Go into text font or size and try to change that and see how it affects the chart. Okay, so we finished the line chart, and now we are going to create, let's pause this. Yep. And now we're going to create the text label underneath the button. All right, we're going to change everything just like this. So going to the GitHub, I'm going to line 168, copy this, and all the way down to 205. Okay, and we'll do this right underneath here. Okay, we're going to do this. Is this every 5 seconds? Every 500 seconds. Okay. Okay, so we copy paste it in there. Let's just make sure it works. I'm going to save this, and I'm going to put this back to every 5 seconds instead of 500. Run, and let's see if this works. Pretty good, pretty good. Okay, so it's getting data from the API. Now it's green because it's higher than the last one. And after 5 seconds, it's the same, so it's white. And after 5 seconds, it becomes a red because it went down. All right, so this is what we are creating with this callback. All right, so let's look over the callback. What are we doing here? This line graph, there we go. The below the buttons callback. So we're taking the interval again, right? And that's going to activate every 5 seconds. And then we're taking the component property. We're going to take the high price. High price belongs to the labels, I think. Let's go back to the dash. High price belongs to label. We're going to take the children parameter, and we're going to take the class name parameter. This one that right now is empty, right? Because we're not defining it. We're going to take the class name parameter and the children parameter. And we're going to right here as an output, and inside the callback function, whatever we return, we are going to return in the same order. So first we're returning the recent high. That's going to refer to the children. And then we're returning a class. This is Bootstrap that I'm going to teach you now. This is going to return into the class name, right? It's very important you return it in the correct order. Okay, so let's see what we are doing. The first thing we are doing is, this is just for example purposes, right? So because this is not a live API. Live API costs about, I think, like $50 a month. So this is download data from a few days ago. And I'm going to fake as if it's every 5 seconds, it's new data. So what I'm doing, I'm taking the timer and I'm saying if the timer equals 0, like the first time, then filter the data where I'm only getting the first row, I think row 21 and row 22. And then when the timer goes back to the interval is 1, that's 5 seconds have passed. I'm going to take row 20 and 21 because I'm taking the most recent data, and then the data that is one before that. right? And same thing after 2 times, 3 times, and after 5 times, I'm saying if the timer after 25 seconds, just dash no update. Just don't update the graph because this is just for example tutorial purposes, right? So every single time the interval updates, it only takes two rows, right? 2 rows from the data frame, the last 2 rows. And now I can create a most recent high and the older high. So the most recent high will be from this data frame will be the first row, and the older high will be the second row. There's only 2 rows, so the first one will be the recent high, and the second one will be the one older than that. Okay. This mimics every 5 seconds new data coming in. Remember, I'm going to show you in part 4, I think, how to do a live API, but this is not live. This is just every fake data. So now I'm saying if the recent high was higher than the older high, if the value is higher, then always give me the recent high. The recent high text here, that's going to go inside the children of the label right here. I always want the most recent number. I don't care about what happened 10 seconds ago. I only want the most recent number here, the most recent stock price. And then I'm saying if it's higher than the older stock price, then put this as a class name. You're going to style that section of that label in this way, right? Success means green. White means if it's equal to the same value, but if it's less than the older value, if the stock price is lower than the older stock price 5 seconds ago, then we're going to put danger. It's going to be a red color. All right, so this is all the class name. This is actually belongs to the class name parameter. This goes into right here. All right. But what is this? Where are we taking this from? This looks like Chinese the first time you look at it. This all this class name, all of these is Bootstrap class names that come from here. All right. I'm going to add this link below the video. So open this link, expand all, and then just look. I mean, you can read over this. It's probably better so you can understand where this comes from. But what I would recommend is just start off with just copying and finding on the page what this means. So if I find and I put here well, not MT2, let's do MT1, and then you click on this. This is spacing. This is under the spacing parameter or section. If I do click on MT1, it will show us that this means margin from the top. So it's kind of hard to see, but the higher the margin, the more units of space from the top, right? So for example, if I change this to MT5, you'll see, let's change everything to MT5. You'll see if I run this, that the margin here from the top between this label and the top above this label is going to be now 5. It's going to be a lot bigger, you see, instead of 2. All right, but I want it to be 2 so it looks better. Let's give this back to 2. All right, the next one is BG success, right? BG success, let's copy it. Let's go here to the Bootstrap and let's do find BG success. And you'll see it's right here. This is the colors. So if you click on it, you see an example. BG success is white background with green background with white text. So all you have to do is just copy paste this. You do PG success to get this result. You copy paste this. If you want warning or danger like we have below, then you'll copy this, right? But we want success, so we'll go here and we'll just go BG success, text white, and this is exactly what we have here. Where is it? Where BG success, text white. All right, and now we have all this. instead of looking at P1 or border, think of what we want to do. We want to change the border, right? Why do we want to change the border? Because we can see here from the original app that there's a little bit of a border here. You see right here, there's a gray border, and that's what I want on my app. I want like you see this blue border here? I want this blue border here on the side and nothing on top. So I didn't know how to do this, so I went here and I said, okay, let me see, where is the borders? Let's go to borders, collapse all, and I'm going to go into borders right here and see what it says. And then I clicked on border, I saw this is not what I want. I clicked on the next one and I saw that here, this is exactly what I want. I want this second one right here, right? So all I did is just copy paste. I copy this, right, all the way from P1 to top 0, and then I just pasted this in here. P1 to top 0. And this is actually what gives me this kind of border, right, with padding 1. This is a primary color, so this is blue, and the top margin is 0. So this is actually what gives me this border right here, all right? So this is a very good sheet to know, to master. If you're looking for stuff, just look at the section border and play around with it, all right? And we actually do that right here. Here we're saying if the recent high, if the same price of the stock price is the same as it was 5 seconds ago, then we're going to have the background color is going to be white. It's not going to be green. Green is success. It's going to be white, and this is the same border. Right here, if the stock price is smaller than what it was 5 seconds ago, we're still going to have the same border. We're still going to have the same top margin of 2 units, but the background color is going to be danger, right? And BG danger is right here. Background, where is background? BG, let's look at BG danger, expand all. BG colors. BG danger is this white text with red background, so you just have to copy paste this inside of here. All right, text white. So this is how you get the differences. Remember, you're returning this. This is the second object that you're returning. The first one is recent, and then you're returning this, which belongs to the second output, which is this class name, which is a parameter inside the high price. It's a parameter inside this this label right here, right? This label right here. So it's going to return all this information right in there. It's kind of cool. Dash is really, really cool. All right. So we did our line chart. We did our button below, not text below that changes color and text. And now we're going to style our graph a little bit so it's all aligned and in the center. So I'm not going to show you everything, so this video is not too long. But what you want to do is go into into the GitHub finance.py, where you always were, and then just look at the different things that we have. So for example, here we have, I'm adding in the card image, I'm adding a class name of ML3, ML-3, right? And this, everything again is from the Dash Bootstrap. So make sure that you always define this. This has to be defined. This has to be here for this to work. So let's take ML class name and put it under the card image. Very, very top. ML class name card image right here underneath the style. And let's see how this changes things. So now you see the card image will move a little bit to the right. You see how it moved a little bit to the right because this is margin left 3. And if you don't know, again, you go here, go into Control F, ML-1, and you'll see that this is a margin left, and they'll give you examples of how you can add more margins to the left of that component. All right. The next thing we do under the image in the card body, we're changing this to, let's see, what are we changing this to? Here, ML3. Here we're changing to ML, here, same thing, we're adding ML3 to the HTML-P, comma, class name ML3. So we're going to add a few more a little bit space here. See how the change moved a little bit to the right because there's more space on the left. And then, let me actually pause this for a sec. And then what we're going to add right here, as you can see in the GitHub, we're going to add, what is the next one? Class name. We'll add this later. We'll do this later. The next one is, that I want to show you, is justify between. So justify between is refers to this row. You see how it's outside of this row. And this justify between comes, let's put this is on the button, and this is on the button row, right? So let's do, where's the button? Right here, button and button. So we're going to go outside of this row in this list. We'll add justify between. And what it does, I don't know if you will be able to see it because we still didn't do everything, but what it does, it creates some space between the buttons, all right? Especially if you're going to change the layout a little bit. Go here to layout. I'm going to put this code under the video. This is a dash Bootstrap code. Go into the layout section and then just go into the between, find the between, and you'll see here how justify right here, justify between this horizontal alignment refers to the rows. And you can see here an example. This is the one before last. If I'm justifying row in between, this is this example right here. So the two components are going to be one to the left, one to the right, and there's going to be space here in between, right? I do something very similar with the code right here in GitHub. We do justify center, right? And this is in the last row. This is the row that wraps everything, right? This is this row. So justify center will mean, let's go into justify center. This is the second one, and this refers to this right here. So everything is in the center, right? And this refers to the main components inside that row. This refers to the column inside that row. All right, so I would recommend copy paste this whole app layout and replace it with what I have right here, what you have right now, and just play around with it. You'll see how you can change the justification. You'll see how you can change the center to maybe a different one, change it to around or start, and just play around with it and say how you can change the layout any way you want. The last thing I'm doing, I'm also adding width to each column, and putting this column is going to have this width, and this column right here is going to have this width with a little bit of offset, so it's a bit more space to the left. I have a full video tutorial on width of columns. Just click on the link above and you'll see how to change the width of columns and the whole layout using Dash Bootstrap. All right, so I'm going to assume you copy paste everything, and now everything is going to look like this app right here, right? But now, now that we have everything, instead of using fake data, I'm going to show you how to use code for live data. So let's do that. Let's do this. Let's go in here. Let's take this out because we don't want this right in the code. We don't want to read anything from CSV. We don't want to filter anything yet. And we're only going to do the very last callback. So let's hashtag this callback out just so you can see how it works. Hashtag the line graph out. Okay. We're only going to use the last callback, the below the buttons callback. And you can erase all this. So instead of if, this is all fake data, erase all this and just leave this, right? Just leave this information. If the recent price is higher than the older price, then show the recent price and do the class name with the colors and the borders and everything. But now we have to download, we have to connect to the API every time this interval runs. So what you want to do, one second, what you want to do, go into the GitHub. I put it actually on my GitLab. here and copy paste all of this. Copy paste all of this with a key. Copy, and let's paste it inside of our the labels in this callback, right? We paste it inside of here, unhashtag this. Remember, you're using my key here, so don't abuse it. Get your own key. Let's erase this CSV. We don't need CSV here. And I think all the rest is the same. Yes. So look, this is exactly what we need to do. Every time the interval updates itself, which is every 5 seconds, we're going to use our key to pull data from Alpha Vantage to pull this data that we did above to a CSV, but now we'll just pull it every 5 seconds. We're transposing, we're renaming, melting, everything that we need to do to prepare the data. And then here in this section, we are taking only the high rates, the high stock price, which we did before. We're changing the date column to pandas date time type. So it's just a date time type. And then we're going to take only the two largest dates, which means the two most recent dates, right? When in the clock. So if it's 4 o'clock or and it's 3:59, it's only going to take the two recent states, 4 and 3:59, and not 3:58, not 3:57. And then we're going to filter the data frame so it only takes rows with these two recent times. And now because I only have 2 rows, I'm going to call the first row a recent high, and the old row at least the value in the old row, the older high, just like we did before. And then just going to print it out. So you print out and see the difference. All right, let's see what happens. Save this and run it. And you see that it's going to print out, if you run it, well, now this is not working because we deleted these callbacks, but it's 17.62 and it's red because 17.62, which is the most right here, which is the most recent high, is lower than the older high that's 17.67, so it's red. And it's going to, now I'm doing this every 500 seconds right here. You see, but if you change this to every 5 seconds, you'll see that it keeps on. Let's change it so you see what happens. Let's change it to 5 seconds. Remember, I can only, don't abuse this because this API only gives you 5 calls per minute, so you can't put 5 seconds. 17.62, and now after 5 seconds, it's going to be the 17.62. Now I'm going to pause this. Two things important to know. This is the code that you need. Now you are seeing the exact same values because I didn't pay $50 a month. So this is not live API. This is still pulling from probably from yesterday or from the data 2 days ago. If you pay a certain amount of time, or if you find a different API that can give you live data, then this is the code that you want to use. Because every single time, every 5 seconds, you're going to use your key. That callback is going to be activated. You're going to use your key to pull information from the API, clean the database, and then just pull the largest 2 dates. So the most recent 2 dates, and you'll call them recent high and the older high, and then you're just going to compare between them. So if this was live, this would actually change every 5 seconds, or every 500 seconds, every time you want. Just be careful. APIs have limits. I only have like 5 times a minute, so be careful not to overload the API with too many requests. All right, so here's the code. Make sure that this is how you do it inside your code if you're doing live. Okay, lastly, for those that support my efforts and my mission in this channel, thank you very much. I built a finance modal for you. It's inside, you see how we have here username input and all that. This is inside the GitLab that you should have access to. Just go into the financial financial folder and just go into finance modal, and it will show you how you'll get the code to actually click on the buy button, and then all this can pop up, and later you can connect it to a database and do more things with it. So I hope you enjoyed. I hope this is something you benefited from. Subscribe below if you want to get a notification every week of a new video. Don't forget to also consider supporting me through Patreon or through YouTube membership. This helps me with all the resources and all the time that it takes to actually build these tutorial and provide this education to you. And I hope to see you next week. Next week we're going to have a cool project of helping the community. And so I hope to see you soon. Bye bye.